So creating gradients in Illustrator is very simple. So let's start with by dragging out a shape. Let's use the ellipse. Just going to draw out a ellipse here. Use selection tool, and there you go. Simple shape here. If I want to add a gradient, I come down to my right-hand panel and I look for the gradient toolbar. If you don't have it, the window gradient will bring it up for you. Let's kind of pull this out of the toolbar. And then you simply just click, make sure you've got the fill rather than the stroke selected, and you simply just click gradient slider. This adds gradient. Within here, there's lots of control that you have. If you press G, that switches you to the gradient mode. And then the nice thing is then you can start to then click and drag out where you want the gradient along this line. On this line then, you've got the sliders here, where you can decide the intensity and the amount of space within the area each color is given. You can also do this directly on to the line here. This line as well, you can move, you can make it longer or shorter. When it comes to your slider here, you can add different colors by simply checking when you see the plus sign appear, so you can add more colors. And then if you click and drag those colors down, you can delete them as well. In terms of actually changing the color, because whenever you add a gradient, generally it'll start with black and white. You can either double click here. This brings up some swatch options here. You can also double check the fill here, and this brings up your color picker, which you can add custom colors to, or you can color pick one. What I like to do is have my swatches panel out as such, because then the beauty of this is I can add swatches, I can create colors here, I can add them using the new swatch thing here, and then I can just simply click and drag the color into the slider as such. So that way I can set a load of colors and then just kind of drag them in when I want them. There's lots you can do with the gradients. You've got your linear gradient here. You can also switch to a radial gradient. Works in the same way, except everything kind of comes from the center outwards, but you still control your different colors here. You can create small or large gradients. And if you use G, as I said before, you can even click and drag out and then change the positioning and the direction of this as such, and also rotate as well, and do all these kind of cool things. The final thing then as well, Freeform Gradient allows you to add different spots. So if I add a spot here, add a spot here, add a spot here, and then I can literally click and drag in different colors to the different points. And I can also change this to lines. So I can actually connect and create a path for my gradient, depending on how kind of complex I want it to be. And there you have it. One common thing that people like to do, click gradient slider, if you want to create that kind of fade into nothing effect, if you set your opacity to 0%, you can get a gradient to fade from a fill color through to nothing. So that's a good one to be aware of. So if you want to have, say, like a white gradient fading over the top of an image, set two colors to white and then the second one set to 0%, and you'll create this gradient that kind of fades into a transparency, which is really cool. One last tip to be aware of with gradients. We just looked at how this works with one piece of artwork. If I have two, so say I've got these two circles here, right, and I want to add a gradient to the two of them. If I add a gradient here, you'll see it adds the gradient to both of these circles. So if I want to have a continuous gradient through the two of them, what I need to do is highlight them both and make compound mask. So now this has made a compound mask with the two of these. So now if I add the gradient, now it appears through the two of them, as you can see. So I don't need to worry about individual gradients for individual shapes. I've connected these shapes now via a compound path, so the gradient works through one of them seamlessly. So there you have it, everyone. That's a very, very simple guide to gradients in Illustrator. Please subscribe, Let me know your thoughts of this tutorial and whether it was helpful. Feel free to leave comments and any ideas you have for future tutorials, and keep on designing. I'll see you next time for the next tutorial.